What's up guys, KalipezTech here, coming back at you with another video. This is the beginner's guide to the Samsung Galaxy A52. In this video, I'm going to be showing you some tips and tricks for this phone that you're going to want to know when you're getting started for the first time. So let's get into it. The first thing I'm going to show you is one of the most important things in my opinion, and that is the notifications. So we are in the settings menu right now, and we're going to open the notifications menu. Now by default, you are set to get notifications from pretty much anything and everything, which to me is insanely annoying, especially when the sound is automatically turned on. You're going to constantly be getting notifications, and for the most part, it's usually just a bunch of random things that don't matter. So what I recommend doing is hitting the more section right here and going through and disabling everything you don't want notifications from. And it's better to do this in the beginning because apps do add up. And if you do have a lot of apps, if you end up with like 100 of them, you don't want to go through those all individually. So it's better just to get it taken care of right away. We are back in the main settings menu, and I'm going to show you something that goes hand in hand with notifications, and that is of course the sounds. We're going to hit this right here. Now by default, the sound is on. Pretty much whenever you get a notification, some sort of sound is going to go off. I personally don't like any sounds any phone makes. I think the best phone is a silent one, so I like to put it on vibrate. When it is on vibrate, it's going to ignore all of this and it's just going to vibrate instead. Now, if you really want to be safe, because sometimes for some inexplicable reason, the sound just comes back on by itself. If you are in an environment where you absolutely can't have your phone making noise, then you can go to each type of notification, like ringtone, for example, go up, hit silent, and it's for sure not going to make any sound. As a side note, you can also change the call background for the ringtone if you want. The next thing I'm going to show you is how to change your screen lock. The screen lock is at the beginning here, where it has you put in your PIN to unlock the screen. Now when you're setting this up for the first time, I personally recommend going to biometrics and security first. And that way you're going to be able to register your face and or your fingerprints if you want. If you don't want to deal with one of them, you don't have to. But if you do plan on using face unlock or your fingerprint scanner or both, I do recommend registering them first so you don't have to keep going back and forth. But once that's all done, go to lock screen, go to screen lock type, enter your PIN. And once you do that, it's going to take you to where you can choose your screen lock type. For the standard part, you can choose between a pattern, PIN, password, or swipe and none. And then if you want to turn on biometrics, you definitely can. Now the next thing I'm going to show you is how to change the clock style. Now there are actually two different clocks on this phone, not including this one because this one doesn't really count. So the first clock that you'll see on this phone is the always on display, and that is this little screen right here that's not exactly the lock screen, but it's something. And then of course you can also change the clock on the lock screen. These are two entirely different clocks with different settings. So we're going to go to our settings menu, go to lock screen, hit clock style, and now you're going to be able to change whichever clock you want. For this example, let's just hit always on display. It's basically going to do the same thing, except the difference is for the always on display, you can have some weird little design here too. If you want a neon cat on your always on display, you can definitely do that. And you can get stuff from themes as well. I think that's really cool. You can't do this for the lock screen though, for whatever reason. Once you're done making changes, you can choose from a few different clock styles and you can choose a color, all that stuff. And once you're done, just hit done and it's going to change. Just remember, you have to do this for each screen individually. So the always on display and the lock screen are completely different clocks, as you can see right here. The next thing I'm going to show you how to do is get the dark theme. Dark theme is basically turning the white parts of your menus and all that stuff black. And I think it looks really cool. And another nice thing about these phones is you can actually set it to turn to dark theme at a certain time of day. So I think that's pretty nice too. So we're going to go to settings, display, and it's really easy. Right here at the top, hit dark theme and then you're done. You can also hit dark mode settings and have it schedule it, and then you'll be able to have it turn to dark mode at sunset or whatever other time of day you want it to be, which I think is really cool. So the next thing I'm going to show you is how to change the system navigation. So you'll notice at the bottom here we have 3 buttons. The far left is the recent apps button, middle is the home button, right is the back button, but we can change this into a different type of navigation, replacing those buttons with one little bar, and you can navigate entirely through the phone with just gestures. I'm going to show you how to do it. We're going to go to settings, display, navigation bar, and you also have the option to rearrange the buttons, but for this we're going to hit swipe gestures. And now there are no buttons. Instead, to go home, you're going to be swiping up. To go to your recent apps, drag a finger up from the bottom. And to go back, swipe horizontally from one side to the other. It doesn't matter if it's left to right or right to left. At the end of the day, this is all up to personal preference, and I do recommend playing around with both of them and seeing for yourself which one works out best for you. So the next thing I'm going to show you is actually a really basic feature, and that is how to take a screenshot. Every phone has its own quirks on how to do this. So I'm going to show you how to do it on this one. So you're going to take the volume down key and the power key and just tap them, and that's going to take the screenshot. For some phones, you actually have to hold it, but not for this specific one. And then you saw that little toolbar that shows up there. You can actually get rid of that if you want by going to advanced features, screenshots and screen recorder, and toggling screenshot toolbar off. So while we're in advanced features, I'm going to show you an alternate way to take a screenshot that a lot of other Samsung phones don't actually have. So we're going to go to motions and gestures from the advanced features menu. And if it's not on already, toggle this last one on, palm swipe to capture. And basically what this does is allows you to take a screenshot by going like this. It is honestly a little bit tricky. There are some phones that have the 3-finger screenshot where you put 3 fingers on the screen and go like that, and it'll take the screenshot. And I honestly like that way a lot better. I think it's a lot more convenient because with the palm swipe, it's like you only get it right a few times out of a handful that you actually do it. So it's nice and it looks really cool when you actually get it right, but especially if you've never done it before, it is a little bit tricky. The next thing I'm going to show you is a real quick way to open your camera. All you need to do is double tap the power key and it's going to open it up. The other thing you can have it do is open an app, or you could have it open Bixby. I'm going to show you how to do that. So we're going to go to settings, advanced features, hit side key. And now by default, it's set to quick launch camera. And you can actually change this to make it open an app instead. I have it open this app called Open Camera. It's a really good third-party camera if you ever need to use one. This is what happens when you do that. And you can do this with literally any app. It doesn't really matter which one. You can also have it open Bixby. But if you even do use Bixby, that's probably not the best use of this button, because instead you can just have press and hold open Bixby. And then you might be wondering, what do you do about the power off menu now? Well, instead of actually pressing and holding the power key to turn off the phone, instead what you can do is slide down the notification center, slide it down one more time, and there's this little power thing right here. You'll be able to turn it off perfectly fine. I don't personally use any of those assistants like Bixby or Google Assistant or Siri or whatever, but I do think it's really cool if you do use it to be able to utilize not only one feature, but pretty much every feature the phone has to offer. You can double tap the power key to open a camera app really quickly, and you can still use Bixby really easily by pressing and holding the key instead of double tapping. And you can still turn off your phone just as easily through the notification center. It's pretty much the best of every world, and I'm a really big fan of how the Samsung Galaxy A52 is optimized to let you use all the features at once. So we are back to the main settings menu, And now the last thing I'm going to show you is how to activate one-handed mode. One-handed mode is basically a feature that shrinks the display down to this little rectangle here, so you can use the phone a lot easier with one hand without risking dropping it from holding it in an awkward angle. So we're going to go back to the advanced features and toggle on one-handed mode. Now you can choose between a gesture and a button. I usually just use the button because it's easier and more mindless, but if you have gesture navigation, you have to use a gesture. And the gesture is not that hard, I just like using the button. But anyway, to get into one-handed mode from here, you're just gonna double tap the home button, and that's gonna take you right there. And you can move this around like that. One-handed mode is really cool because it allows you to effortlessly use your phone with only one hand without having to hold it in an uncomfortable way that risks you dropping it. But that was my beginner's guide to the Samsung Galaxy A52. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I hope you found these tips and tricks useful as well. If you did, be sure to leave a thumbs up and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video.